Hello, good evening. Good evening, everybody. In the last session on the book reading of Rich Dad Poor Dad, we had read about financial intelligence or financial IQ that Robert Kiyosaki talks about. We had concluded the last session by reading the pointers on what constitutes financial intelligence. We'll continue from there. I remind people that financial IQ is made up of knowledge from four broad areas of expertise. Those four broad areas are accounting, investing, understanding markets, and the law. Accounting. Accounting is financial literacy or the ability to read numbers. This is a vital skill if you want to build an empire. The more money you are responsible for, the more accuracy is required, or the house comes tumbling down. This is the left brain side or the details. Financial literacy is the ability to read and understand financial statements, which allows you to identify the strengths and weaknesses of any business. Investing. Investing is the science of money making money. This involves the strategies and formulas which use the creative brain side. Understanding markets. Understanding markets is the science of supply and demand. You need to know the technical aspects of the market, which are emotion driven, in addition to the fundamental or economic aspects of an investment. Does an investment make sense or does it not make sense based on current market conditions? For the law. A corporation wrapped around the technical skills of accounting, investing, and markets can contribute to explosive growth. A person who understands the tax advantages and protections provided by a corporation can get rich so much faster than someone who is an employee or a small business sole proprietor. It's like the difference between someone walking and someone flying. The difference is profound when it comes to long term wealth. So, what Robert Kiyosaki talks about that constitutes the four important aspects of financial intelligence or financial IQ are these. The first one is to understand accounting. Accounting is to understand numbers, where the money is coming from, where it is going, where it is being spent, what is the balance sheet, the ability to read and understand the balance sheet. It is very important because if you can understand financial statements and balance sheets, you will be able to identify the strengths and weaknesses of any business. The second aspect he talks about is investing. Investments are those which will help you generate wealth. So investing is the science of money making money. If you understand the markets, if you understand and strategize where to put your money will give back more money. That is investing. Number 3, understanding the markets. There is no point trying to sell something which does not have a market of buyers. So whatever is in higher demand will get more customers, so that more of those solutions can be sold. So that is understanding the markets, where to invest, when to invest, and what type of business to do. What are the emotional aspects that will drive the business? What are the fundamental things that needs to be understood to build a strong economic foundation for a business? Where all can the investment for the business come in? All these are related to the markets, understanding the markets. So Robert Kiyosaki says anybody who understands accounting, investing, and the markets will have their business explode and grow very fast. So when the business is growing, it is very important to understand the law, to take advantage of the provisions within the law which will allow somebody to get richer without losing more money in taxes. So these are the four things that you have to pay attention to and think about in your mind. The four things are accounting, investment, understanding the markets, and the law. Tax advantages. A corporation can do many things that an employee cannot, like pay expenses before paying taxes. That is a whole area of expertise that is very exciting. Employees earn and get taxed, and they try to live on what is left. A corporation earns, spends everything it can, and is taxed on anything that is left. It's one of the biggest legal tax loopholes that the rich use. They are easy to set up and are not expensive if you own investments that are producing good cash flow. For example, by owning your own corporation, your vacations can be board meetings in Hawaii. Car payments, insurance, repairs, and health club memberships are company expenses. Most restaurant meals are partial expenses, and on and on. But it's done legally with pre tax dollars. Very important to understand how the rich people make more money by saving on taxes. There are some advantages given for businesses. If you are a business owner, you are allowed to spend money on the things that are essential for developing and growing the business. So if you want to do some business, your traveling expenses, your food expenses, your stay expenses, your treats and parties that you throw to people, all these things can be accounted as necessary expenses that are required to build a business. Now, when you are making expenditure, what is it that you are making expenditure on? A corporation or a business entity will earn money, spend on all the things that it is supposed to spend on, and then whatever is left, that is the money on which it will pay taxes. Let's say 100 rupees is the money that a corporation is earning, and the same amount of money, that is 100 rupees, an individual is earning. Let's say 10% is the tax, and both of them are spending 70 rupees. Corporation will spend 70 rupees first, and what is left out is 30 rupees. It will pay tax on that 30 rupees. 10% on 30 rupees is 3 rupees. So the corporation is spending 3 rupees on taxation, 70 rupees on expenditure, and the corporation is left with 27 rupees. But an individual earns 100 rupees, pays 10% of tax on the 100 rupees, that is, he is paying 10 rupees taxes, and he is spending 70 rupees. So what he is left with is 20 rupees. You see that? A difference of 7% right away there. A corporation spent the same amount of money, earned the same amount of money, but paid tax after all the expenditure was done. But an individual has to pay taxes before expenditure is done. So you are paying taxes and then spending on your needs. But as a corporation, you can spend on your requirements and then pay taxes. That way, you have an advantage to save more money as a business entity. It is not illegal, it is the provision of tax that is available, which businesses will utilize and rich people will utilize it very, very efficiently. Protection from lawsuits. We live in the litigious society. Everybody wants a piece of your action. The rich hide much of their wealth using vehicles such as corporations and trusts to protect their assets from creditors. When someone sues a wealthy individual, they are often met with layers of legal protection and often find that the wealthy person actually owns nothing. They control everything but own nothing. The poor and middle class try to own everything and lose it to the government or to fellow citizens who like to sue the rich. They learned it from the Robin Hood story. Take from the rich and give it to the poor. It is not the okay. Before that, I'll explain this a little bit. See, think about this: a corporation and an individual. All right, corporation is also managed by individuals. Let's say both of them, a corporation and an individual, are buying a property worth 10,000 rupees. They are buying a property worth 10,000 rupees. Corporation, the individuals running the corporation will buy it in the name of the corporation, and the individual here on the other side buys it in his own name. The individuals running the corporation are controlling everything that the corporation is doing, but the individual wants to own up everything. The corporation owners will not own anything in their name. Everything will be in the name of the company, in the name of their business. But the individuals will have everything in their own name. So when you are making personal wealth, you are spending more on taxes. You are paying more taxes. But when you are building a corporate wealth, when you are building wealth in the name of the business, you will not be spending as much money in taxes. And also, when somebody wants to litigate or sue a person, an individual, for some wrongdoing, the individuals running the corporation will escape because they have nothing in their name. So they take the protection of law to protect themselves and their wealth from the people who want to take it away from them by creating multiple layers of protection. Individuals have to understand this so that they can also protect their wealth very, very well. It is not the purpose of this book to go into the specifics of owning a corporation, but I will say that if you own any kind of legitimate assets, I would consider finding out more about the benefits and protection offered by a corporation as soon as possible. There are many books written on the subject that will detail the benefits and even walk you through the steps necessary to set up a corporation. Garrett Sutton's books on corporations provide wonderful insight into the power of personal corporations. Financial IQ is actually the synergy of many skills and talents. I would say it is the combination of the four technical skills listed above that make up basic financial intelligence. If you aspire to great wealth, it is the combination of these skills that will greatly amplify your financial intelligence. In summary, business owners with corporation earn, spend, and then pay taxes, whereas employees who work for the corporation earn, pay taxes, and then spend money. As part of your overall financial strategy, I recommend that you learn about the protection that legal entities can provide for businesses and assets. This might all be too much or very deep and very complex information for students who are listening to it, for especially school students or people who don't have any background of financial understanding might find it difficult to understand these things. But in this chapter, you need to understand one very simple thing, that setting up a business, a corporation, a company is more beneficial to make more money than earning as an individual. There are so many legal ways by which you can set up a corporation, earn money, spend on your expenses, and then pay taxes rather than working as an individual where you have to earn money, pay taxes, and then have to do your expenditure. Having an understanding of these things will help one to plan their finances better and have a better financial stability and use that knowledge that they have gained to build their assets. So, at the end of this chapter 4 or the lesson 4, think about all the important things that have been discussed in this previous chapter. Difference between income and expenditure, difference between liabilities and assets, income statements and balance sheets, the advantages of owning your business, why it is necessary to mind your own business, why the financial literacy is important, what are the aspects of the financial literacy, aspects that constitute financial literacy, how do businesses or rich people make more money by saving on taxes, and how is it that poor people and middle class people keep on spending money and they don't save anything because they are paying too much taxes, and a basic understanding of how we can work through all this to become capable of managing our finances better and create ways or use the ways to build assets. So far, this is what we have learned from this book. Anybody who has sincerely listened to this and contemplated on this would have definitely developed a better understanding of money and how to manage that money, how to use that money to earn more money and move towards the path of wealth creation. So, as I have already told in the earlier sessions, and this book also reinforces that it's about the mindset. Having the right mindset is very important to progress towards success in any chosen path. That is what this book is trying to instill in its readers. So, continuing with the book reading, we will move on now to chapter 5 or the lesson 5. Lesson 5, name of lesson 5 is The Rich Invent Money, not invest. Invent money. Inventions are creations. The rich create money. How is that? Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. Remember, often in the real world, it is not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. In Sanskrit, there is a saying, Dhairyam Sarvatra Sadhanam. That means the one who has courage will have the possibility of achieving anything. So we'll continue reading this. Very interesting chapter. The rich invent money. How do the rich invent money? We will see. Last night, I took a break from writing and watched a TV program on the history of a young man named Alexander Graham Bell. Bell had just patented his telephone and was having growing pains because the demand for his new invention was so strong. Needing a bigger company, he then went to the giant at that time, Western Union, and asked them if they would buy his patent and his tiny company. He wanted $100,000 for the whole package. The president of Western Union scoffed at him and turned him down, saying the price was ridiculous. The rest is history. A multi-billion dollar industry emerged and AT&T was born. The evening news came on right after the story of Alexander Graham Bell. On the news was a story of another downsizing at a local company. The workers were angry and complained that the company ownership was unfair. A terminated manager of about 45 years of age had his wife and two babies at the plant and was begging the guards to let him talk to the owners to ask if they would reconsider his termination. He had just bought a house and was afraid of losing it. The camera focused in on his pleading for all the world to see. Needless to say, it held my attention. I have been teaching professionally since 1984. It has been a great experience and a rewarding one. It is also a disturbing profession, for I have taught thousands of individuals and see one thing in common in all of us, myself included. What we all have tremendous potential and we are all blessed with gifts. Yet the one thing that holds all of us back is some degree of self doubt. It is not so much the lack of technical information that holds us back, but more the lack of self confidence. Some are more affected than others. Once we leave school, most of us know that it is not so much a matter of college degrees or good grades that count. In the real world, outside of academics, something more than just grades is required. I have heard it called many things: guts, chutzpah, balls, audacity, bravado, cunning, daring, tenacity, and brilliance. This factor, whatever it is labeled, ultimately decides one's future much more than school grades do. Two very important things have been brought out in this chapter at the beginning of the chapter. One is the story of Alexander Graham Bell. Alexander Graham Bell, all of us know, is the one who invented telephone. Now he wanted to sell his company. He wanted to sell his company to then a big company, Western Union. Now we have all that Western Union money transfer and such things. It might be the same company. Western Union refused to buy his company, and they said the money was too much. That was $100,000. But now Alexander Graham Bell's company AT&T is a multi-billion dollar industry. The the industry of telecom is a multi-billion dollar industry. So inventions create possibilities of generating wealth. Identifying the inventions which have the potential to generate wealth in the future is a great ability to have for rich people. And the next thing that is being told in this chapter, in the beginning of this chapter, is most of the people, Robert Kiyosaki says he has been teaching people since 1984, and he has come across a lot of people with tremendous potential. He says all of us have great potential, but what holds us back, what prevents us from becoming successful, is lack of self confidence. People don't have the guts, people don't have the courage to go and do what they want to do. They keep worrying about the unknown things, they keep worrying about the things that are not in their control, and hold themselves back from taking action. So that is what is Robert Kiyosaki talking about, and it's a very very important point, because courage makes people perform actions, and actions creates possibilities of success. If you don't have courage and if you don't initiate action, then there is no possibility of success, because success comes by consistent actions, and what makes you perform actions is the courage which will help you overcome the fear that you have and make you do things, however small it is. But consistent persistent actions will lead to success over a period of time. That is why, as students have to focus on studying every day. Studying every day, no matter whether you're understanding or not, is a very very important ability to develop, that you are capable of performing your actions by overcoming your fears, fear of failure, fear of punishment, fear of whatever, but you have to perform your actions. Let's see what Robert Kiyosaki has to say beyond this. Once we leave school, most of us know that it is not so much a matter of college degrees or good grades that count. In the real world, outside of academics, something more than just grades is required. I've heard it called many things: guts, chustbab, audacity, bravado, cunning, daring, tenacity, and brilliance. Whatever it is labeled, ultimately decides one's future much more than school grades do. Inside each of us is one of these brave, brilliant, and daring characters. There is also the flip side of that character: people who get down on their knees and beg if necessary. After a year in Vietnam as a Marine Corps pilot, I got to know both of those characters inside of me intimately. One is not better than the other. Yet, as a teacher, I recognized that it was excessive fear and self doubt that were the greatest detractors of personal genius. It broke my heart to see students know the answers yet lack the courage to act on the answer. Often in the real world, it's not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. This statement has to get into your head very, very strongly. Often in the real world, it is not the smart who get ahead, but the bold. In my personal experience, your financial genius requires both technical knowledge as well as courage. If fear is too strong, the genius is suppressed. In my classes, I strongly urge students to learn to take risks, to be bold, and to let their genius convert that fear into power and brilliance. It works for some and just terrifies others. I have come to realize that for most people, when it comes to the subject of money, they would rather play it safe. I have had to field questions such as: why take risks? Why should I bother developing my financial IQ? Why should I become financially literate? And I answer: just to have more options. So this question: why should I know more? Why should I understand? It's going good. I have a job. I'm getting a salary. I'm taking care of my life. All that is going good. Why should I spend time, energy, and money on developing my financial IQ? It's a common question asked by many middle class and poor people. Robert Kiyosaki says, just to have more options. Wouldn't it be good to have options and choose from the options than be satisfied and with whatever limited options you have got? If your potential is big enough to give you more possibilities, to choose from the range of possibilities is more sensible. There are huge changes up ahead. In the coming years, there will be more people just like the young inventor Alexander Graham Bell. There will be 100 people like Bill Gates and hugely successful companies like Microsoft created every year all over the world. And there also will be many more bankruptcies, layoffs, and downsizings. So, why bother developing your financial IQ? No one can answer that but you. Yet I can tell you why I myself do it. I do it because it is the most exciting time to be alive. I'd rather be welcoming change than dreading change. I'd rather be excited about making millions than worrying about not getting a raise. This period we are in now is a most exciting time, unprecedented in our world's history. Generations from now, people will look back at this period of time and remark at what an exciting era it must have been. It was the death of the old and birth of the new. It was turmoil, it was full of turmoil, and it was exciting. So Robert Kiyosaki says, this generation, this period is the most exciting period in the history of the world. The old systems are failing, the old systems are dying down, new systems are coming up. Many inventions are coming up. Technology is booming. There are millions of possibilities. Anybody who is persistent and who wants to perform in their chosen fields can perform. So this is a period of change. This is a period of drastic change. Robert says, I would rather accept and embrace that change than to fight that change and fall behind. So when there is some change happening and you cannot avoid that change is inevitable. You cannot escape it. The sensible thing to do is embrace it. When you cannot escape a change, embrace the change so that you can benefit from the change and not be left behind when everything changes and you refuse to change. So, why bother developing the financial IQ? Because if you do, you will prosper greatly. And if you don't, this period of time will be a frightening one. It will be a time of watching some people move boldly forward while others cling to worn out life preservers. Land was wealth 300 years ago. So the person who owned the land owned the wealth. Later, The wealth was in factories and production, and America rose to dominance. The industrialist owned the wealth. Today, wealth is in information, and the person who has the most timely information owns the wealth. The problem is that information flies around the world at the speed of light. The new wealth cannot be contained by boundaries and borders as land and factories were. The changes will be faster and more dramatic. There will be a dramatic increase in the number of new multimillionaires. There also will be those who are left behind. I find so many people struggling today, often working harder simply because they cling to old ideas. They want things to be the way they were and they resist change. I know people who are losing their jobs or their houses and they blame technology or the economy or their boss. Sadly, they fail to realize that they might be the problem. Old ideas are their biggest liability. It is a liability simply because they fail to realize that while that idea or way of doing something was an asset yesterday, yesterday is gone. This part needs a bit of explanation, and we will end and conclude by understanding this part more deeply. People struggle more often because they want to hold on to what they have been doing for a long time. We all get comfortable doing what we do and what we have been doing for a period of time. Even there are strong evidences to suggest that what we are doing is not good enough and it is pulling us back. Or even if there are strong possibilities right in front of us, which will tell us that if we change the way we do things, it will change the outcome for our lives and for our growth. People still refuse to change. So that resistance to change, that resistance to stick on to the old ideas is what will make people struggle. When the times change and the technology advances, when there are better ways of doing the same things, change has to be embraced. But what happens to most of the people is they are so attached to their own ideas of what is right and wrong, what needs to be done financially, what shouldn't be done, how things have to be done. They refuse to learn better ways or new ways or more efficient ways of doing things. That will lead them to lose the advantage of being a productive or a useful employee or a contributor to the workforce in their places of work. So if I am not contributing significantly to my workplace, I will not get a raise or I might even lose my job. Now, with this, I continue to blame everybody. I blame my boss, I blame the government, I blame the technology, I blame the economy. But unfortunately, I might not blame myself. Most of the people fail to realize that they might be the problem. So whenever we are in a difficult situation, we have to look at how is it I am responsible for this situation instead of looking at everybody else and blaming everybody else. We need to remember that old ideas which have lost their time, which do not have relevance in the current times, are the biggest liability. Old ideas which don't have any significance for today's work are biggest liabilities. It is a liability simply because people fail to realize that while that idea or way of doing something was an asset yesterday, yesterday is gone. Yesterday, that idea might be a good idea to use. In the past, the same idea could have given wonderful results, but today is different. Yesterday is gone. That idea, which was very good for that time, might not be useful for today. And unless we realize that it is necessary to drop that old idea or to modify it to suit the current times, it will not be beneficial in today's times. So, before you go to bed, I want you to think. I want you to think on this. If I am not being productive in what I am doing, is what I am doing relevant to what is necessary to be done? If what I am doing is not useful to make my work better today, I have to learn better ways of doing the same things and do it so that at the end of the day, I have better outcomes and I have better success at my work than the unnecessary emotional attachment to the old ideas which may not have relevance in the current times. So, with this, make a commitment To change continuously, to grow continuously, and change and growth should be based on learning that is relevant, learning that will help you change and grow. So, constant learning, embracing change, and quickly adapting to the change are very important qualities that we need to practice on a day to day basis. We will continue the reading tomorrow from where we have left today. So, go back with this thought of learning continuously, embracing change, and adapting to change at the quickest so that the chances of success are the highest. See you all. Good night. See you in the next session.